I thought you were going to paint it on you. That was what you guys said, but you did not do that. You didn't have time. Okay. So if any of you guys know me, I have been doing social media for a little while. I'm probably not going to whisper, even though some of you guys were asking me to. So I've been a tech, and I've been a tech for 17 years, and I've been a first assist for the past 4 years. So I've been in surgery for a long time. I absolutely love teaching, and I just kind of feel like when I got into my role as a first assist, I no longer was able to teach or precept. So I ended up going to someone at my management at one of my jobs and basically just asking, hey, I want to teach. I want to be able to orient new hires coming in. And I wasn't really given that opportunity. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go teach the world. So I'm here now with a whole bunch of followers, and this is a very big room that I'm realizing now being up here. So a little terrifying. And typically I am talking to my phone. And so, you know, some people are like, well, you talk in front of people all the time. This is what I do. I'm at home, my kids I don't want them to watch me. So this is a little bit different, but the good thing about my phone is it doesn't interrupt me at all. It doesn't tell me that I'm wrong. So it's like one of the best coworkers ever. But my phone also does not laugh at my jokes, so I'm going to need you guys' help with that here. I saw this quote and it really resonated with me. I'm here to talk about precepting techniques and just how you can become a better preceptor in the OR. So it says, most people don't quit the OR, they quit how they were trained. And I've seen this, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen this as well, where new people come into the OR and they love surgery, but then they end up quitting because of people and how people are training them, how people are acting towards them. And so this quote did really resonate with me for that. One thing that I have learned talking to people all over the world pretty much is that even in different hospitals, different facilities, different surgeons, the one thing remained the same was that the training, they had issues with training and precepting. And so that's something that I genuinely want to change, and it's pretty incredible to be in a position where I feel like I can have that impact on others, and it's overwhelming being in a space like this and being able to talk to all of you guys, but I'm excited, and I told my daughter this, which is here supporting me today. Let's give a hand to my daughter and her best friend here supporting me. That means the world to me. So they're here supporting me, and my daughter bought me a big banner for Christmas that had my logo on it. And I won't cry, even though Amy, I'm sure you're over here thinking I'm gonna cry, but not today. So having the support of my family through it all definitely helps me on my journey to be able to help all of you guys. So I definitely appreciate that. If everyone could open their phones, and there's supposed to be a QR code, there's not, but if you just go to canva.live, like it says up there, I would love for you to answer this question for me so that we can kind of see the responses from the crowd. What made your training harder than it needed to be? So I want you to think back on the times that you were training, first starting in the OR, and what your struggles were and what your difficulties were. You should be able to see the answers as they're coming in. Preceptors who didn't want to be there, clicky, impatient preceptors, unwillingness to answer questions, expectations of other people, angry surgeons, being bullied, negative preceptors, surgeons who didn't want to teach, didn't want people in there, toxic culture. I've seen all of these. They're coming so quickly, and you can all scroll through those, right? Everyone can see them. So if you scroll through, you can kind of see everyone's answers on there, I believe. So mean girls, unnecessarily tough, bullies. So if you're noticing everything coming in, they're not about instruments. It's not about the actual procedure that we're doing. This is all about people. So it's humans, the way that they're teaching. That's what's having the effect on these students coming in, these orientees coming in, is the people precepting them and how they're reacting to that. Sink or swim, heard that many times. These are all people problems, which is exactly why precepting, and they keep coming in, man, we got a lot. See, this is a huge issue, as you can see, because these answers just keep flowing in. But this is what I've seen. I mean, raise your hand if you've been in a situation where you felt like your preceptor talked down to you, maybe. Look at that, look around the room. Why is this okay? Why is it tolerated? This should never be tolerated. Just like any job that you come into, like the Pike Place Fish Market guys that were here earlier this morning talking about communication and helping each other, something like that, it's really any job that you're in. You need to learn how to be respectful towards other people. It's about being a decent human and being kind to others. Everything else will follow. You should never be put in those situations where they're not helping you learn. All right, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why precepting matters, and I'm sure everyone really understands this already. So I've talked to people from pretty much across the world. I'm doing a webinar next week in the UK. That's incredible to me that I'm able to reach so many that's what I'm being asked to do. It's terrifying, like doing this, right? Terrifying. But I'm pushing myself and forcing myself out of my comfort zone because I've seen the positive impact that I'm having on others by teaching them and helping them. And anybody can do that. That doesn't only have to be me. That can be any of you. Everyone thinks that their training issues are unique also. They'll talk to me about how their preceptors aren't very nice, or they'll come in and they're not really training anybody, and they're not unique at all. It happens everywhere. So how do we change that? That's where we have to come in and change that trajectory to more of a positive one. Or else you are gonna have nobody to take your call. So think about that. So just as poor training becomes culture, so does positive training. But it's all about taking that step and teaching in a positive way in order for others to adopt that, and then next time that's how they're gonna teach because they appreciated that. Because how many of you had a really great preceptor that you remember? I remember mine. His name was Tom in Utah, my first job, and he was like, first case, I scrub in, terrified, I'm probably contaminating everything or whatever. And I scrub in, stand on the other side of the mayo stand, because I'm like, there's no way I'm standing over there. And he's like, no, come over here. You're on this side. I'm like, you sure you want me to do that? This is my first time here. He's like, I got you. And he did the whole time throughout. It was a lap chole. I mean, now looking back, not that hard. But as a student, you know that that's terrifying. Going into any OR, starting any case, you're terrified. So being able to go in and he's pointing at everything that I need next, I'm like, okay, I got this. And that I obviously didn't know, but I had someone there that was willing to train me and teach me. And I remember that, just as you remember those good preceptors that you had. So poor communication is another huge issue, just not being able to speak up and say when something is wrong or correct immediately, or just throw them in. Has anyone had a preceptor that goes and takes a break? Right after you scrub it. First time with the surgeon that everyone said is the meanest surgeon or whatever. Hey, you got this. You'll be all right. I'm gonna go eat breakfast. Oh, thanks. That's unacceptable. You need to make people feel comfortable. And how you do that is if you have that relationship with the surgeon and that new person comes in, introduce them. So this is so-and-so, they're brand new. Because you're not the new one, they are. You're not learning, they are. Help them feel more comfortable. Because then you think back to your good preceptor that you had, that you remember how they were, what they taught you, and you think back at how they did that, how that made you feel. That is how you want to make these new hires feel, these new people training in your OR from another one. That's how you want to make them feel, is comfortable and welcome, or again, you will not have anyone to take your call. Figure it out is not actually an orientation plan. So it's not just here, go in, jump in and figure it out. Lack of structure is also a huge one, where you should have some sort of plan. I think it's important when someone new comes into the OR that I'm teaching, I'll ask, hey, how many times have you scrubbed in? Oh, this is my 3rd week. Okay, I kind of can gauge how do you feel? How comfortable are you? They're usually not that comfortable at 3 weeks. Some of them are, and sometimes that's not like the best thing, but you can gauge that. You can see that, and that's when you call them out and you're like, all right, you need to not be so comfortable. Be a little more worried when you're scrubbing in. But you can gauge that, but ask questions and open that up for them. So from the beginning, learners aren't mind readers. And it's really hard. I've been in a lot of situations where, and like I said, since I became an FA, I'm not able to teach as much. So I've been in a lot of situations where the tech that I'm with is training somebody, and it's hard for me to get away from what I'm doing and focusing on, because as an assist, I need to be dialed in. And so I try to help as much as I can, but there's a preceptor that maybe isn't as good and isn't willing to teach as much. And you can see that they're not setting that expectation for that student. And then afterwards, they say something to me like, well, they should have done this. They should have got the case cart ready. They should have known to go do this. And I'm like, yeah, but did you tell them? Well, they should already know. They learn that, don't they? I'm like, okay. You still have to, even if their assumptions go nowhere. You can assume all you want. We already know what assume means. I'm sure everyone has heard that. So let's not do that. You clearly communicate and set those expectations. This is what I expect out of you. When you get here, go find the case cart by yourself. If you can't find it, ask somebody who is around, because that's what you're gonna have to do on your own. I want you to go through everything on the case cart, look at the preference card, make sure you put all your open aside from everything that you're holding, and then I wanna come look it over. That's what I do. Oops. I'll go look it over and say, well, you need this, but you can probably hold on that. And what are they doing in that moment? They're learning. They're learning what to do next. So next time they'll understand, well, this is why we hold this, because of this. We might not use a harmonic, he might use a ligature, never worked with them before. It's not specified on the preference card. Preference cards are always right too, so that's never an issue. But open that up, let them try, and then correct it and teach them. That's how you learn. That's how most of us learn. I know that's how I learn. Remove the guesswork. So there's a quote down here that says, if they don't know what to expect, they're already behind. And it's like anybody coming into a new situation, to a new facility, if you start a new job, regardless of what it is, it does not matter where you're going, what you're doing, you're going into an environment that is already set, that everybody knows each other. Everyone has worked with each other. They have these bonds, these relationships, and you're going in and you're the brand new person. You don't know anybody, and it's very uncomfortable, right? So why are we not trying to create that safe space for someone to come into and feel comfortable? This is now their full-time job, or they're a student learning. Why do we not want to teach that? I understand being frustrated. I understand being exhausted. I just recently was able to go per diem after 17 years of taking call. I have always worked at a hospital. I have always taken call for 17 years, 2 a.m. phone calls coming in. I understand exhaustion, but that does not ever give you an excuse to be rude to another human being, ever. Let me see if I have another. So think out loud, narrate what you're saying. And this is something that maybe it's hard to do because you just know the steps, and maybe you're someone who has a little bit more of a difficult time teaching, which I totally understand. I have 5 children, okay? 5 of them. So I am constantly correcting, or I would go crazy. Don't do that, don't touch that. No, you shouldn't do that. Like, it's just all over the place all the time. So I'm used to it, but not everybody is. So sometimes you have to tell yourself and force yourself to do that. You're like, oh, hold on, they're brand new. I need to explain to them that they need a coker to grab fascia because they're using a Hassan to put in. But not only, hey, they need a coker. Why do they need a coker? What are they doing with it? Why are they grabbing it? Because who here learns better by understanding why? Look at that. Mostly everybody. Not, oh, you need a hemostat next. Well, this instrument always comes after this instrument, unless they need to put the cutting block back on because their cuts are off. Now what do you gotta do? You gotta shuffle through all of your dirty stuff that you put in your basin to try to find your cutting block to put it, but you're having to wait for them to ask instead of listening to what they're saying. So understand the steps why you do it. That will help you become such a better tech. And ask them questions when they're in. Why are we doing this? But make them feel comfortable. Listen, and preface it with, I know you're not gonna know all the answers. I already know that. You're new. I am challenging you to make you better, and I am not trying to make you feel stupid. Who is gonna feel dumb if that's how you approach something? But if you go in there and you say, well, you should know this. Nobody told you that? How do you not know that? We are, again, all human beings. Why are we treating another human being that way? That does not mean that the students that come in, or new hires that come in that don't really care, and there definitely are those, but give everyone a chance. Those ones are different, and I know we've all experienced that as well, where they'll come in and they'll go take a break. They don't care. I'm like, this is your first day, you're eating breakfast? You don't get to eat breakfast. You don't even get lunch. Just kidding. Like, you don't get to do that. You need to go through everything first. You gotta make sure, but that's where you gotta set that expectation. So if you set that expectation for those students and they don't do it, that's an issue. But you are doing your part and what you should be doing to help them succeed. Whether or not they choose to take that is completely on them. But what you do, that's all you can choose. Like those guys said earlier. You decide what you're doing, how you're gonna teach. I don't talk this much. I work in the OR. So you need to clarify what success looks like, what their goals are, what you expect out of them. So again, start the day with saying exactly what they need to do in between cases. This is where the case cart goes. Instead of, well, duh, it goes to Deacon Tam. Okay, it's my first day. I don't know where Deacon Tam is. This facility is different. I have to scan everything at this facility, which I love. You have to scan everything here, whereas the last facility, you don't have to scan any instruments to the room. So like, I don't understand the process. Make sure they understand that processes are different places that you go. Teach them your process and why you do it, every step of the way. And guess what? Are you gonna have to teach them one time and then they should know it? They're brand new. No, it is gonna take multiple times, plenty of correcting, and just try not to make them feel stupid for it. Because you see the ones also that are so willing to learn, help them. Not everybody learns at the same pace, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with someone else taking 2 months where this person got it in 2 weeks. Nothing wrong with that, as long as they get there and you help them get there. If they're making progress, that's what matters. I'm not following this at all. Give them real-time feedback. So in the moment, like I said, correct things. If you see them bump their elbow on something that's unsterile, you don't just scream at them. Oh, how could you do that? Now you have to take everything off. Like, how stupid are they gonna feel? You say, hold on a second. You just touched that, so now you're contaminated because your elbow cannot touch that. So either we need to get a sleeve, but you know what, we haven't started yet, why don't you just re-scrub? And explain to them why, and correct it in the moment. You can do that respectfully. Now there's been, don't get me wrong, there's been times where like a new CRNA student has like walked around to anesthesia and I've had to like yell, but like that's just to get their attention because they're like about this close to my back table. I'm like, hold on, you can't go there. And they look at me like, what'd I do wrong? I'm like, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to yell at you, but if you touch that, you're setting up the whole thing. And do you know how to do that? So I just make a joke out of it, but like, I've scared a few people screaming at them for that, but not in a mean way. Keep it constructive. So just like I said, be respectful and nice when you're fixing something that they're doing incorrectly. Correct it and help them understand why, so that next time they won't do it. Instead of afterwards going up to your coworker and being like, oh my gosh, you know, Susie Q, she sucks. She was not doing a good job. She didn't get light handles. She didn't do this and that. Like, there's no point in that. Did you teach them those things? Because if you didn't and you didn't correct it, that's kind of on you, honestly. And this I was talking about as well, creating a safe space. Because you remember when you were new, were you comfortable asking questions to anybody right when you walked in? And it's intimidating. The OR is so intimidating because this is a patient's life in your hands. It should be. It should be to a sense. But that does not mean that we can't work as a team in that environment and do what's best for that patient. But coming in brand new and not knowing anything, it is extremely intimidating to know that like you have that much power in your hands that could affect a patient. Getting an infection, you know, anything happening during that case, you could be responsible for that. That's terrifying. So yes, make sure that the new hires or students understand that, but at the same time, welcome the questions when they come in. Open that safe, or create that safe space for them and open up so that they can ask you questions throughout the entire case. I mean, of course, there's times, but you have to explain that to them. There's surgeons you don't talk, right? You don't say a word. But you have to tell them that because they just met them. So if you are not, you're setting them up to fail if you know that that surgeon doesn't like questions, doesn't like to talk, doesn't like music, because that's how they focus, and you know that, and you say nothing to the person that you're training. That's just mean, honestly. That's so mean. Like, let's see how he's gonna yell at you. That's how you get people to leave and not take your call. But seriously, there's a surgeon that I work with, and it's every Tuesday, one Tuesday a month. So it's even hard for me to remember a lot of things with him, but he's a great surgeon, love working with him. We do totals all day, and we don't talk. There's music playing, we don't talk. And sometimes he seems a little short, and not everybody likes working with him. I get to work with all of the surgeons that nobody likes to work with, lucky me. But I actually really like him. I have no problems with him. But it's because I understand what he's doing, and also be understanding of that. Understand that they're people too, and this is their patient that they have to see post-op. You're not seeing that patient afterwards. So explain that to your new hires. Say, when I'm in there, with this doctor, you do not touch the lights. I don't ask for any retractors because he just likes to place them. I'm not offended by that. I don't care. I'm there to help. And we are dead silent. Music playing in the background, but we are quiet because he has to hyper-focus on what he's doing or he will get distracted. Why am I gonna get offended by that? Right? So understanding that, and then when we start closing, we are talking about our kids, we're talking about everything. But I know when we can talk and when we can't. And you have to listen for those cues and understand the environment in order to do that, especially in surgery. I mean, you have to do that everywhere, but especially in surgery. So if someone new comes in and you know all these things about this surgeon and you're not prepping them for that and saying, this is what this doctor does not want you to do, don't touch the lights, really make sure not, you need to emphasize that to them. Because if you just let them come in, introduce themselves, and start just going crazy, doing whatever they do with every other surgeon, grabbing the lights, they're getting yelled at, surgeons now super pissed off, and then you have to deal with that. But why did you not tell them? I don't understand the point of not telling them that. So make sure that you are helping these new hires and these students coming in. Next. I loved hearing this. So step back as they step up. And this is so hard to do, right? Especially if you're very experienced, you've been doing this a long time, you work with the same surgeon that just really, you guys just like jive together. You know exactly what they need during the entire procedure. So it's really hard when someone comes in and they don't know to allow them to do it. When I'm training all the time, I'll be like, slap my hand. I'm okay with that. Because it's hard not to grab something. You're trying to like save them and also help the surgeon, and you feel like, if you just wait a half a second longer, they'll probably get there. So you're faster because you're more experienced. Allow that half a second to happen and see what happens. Obviously, if they're taking an extremely long time and the surgeon's getting frustrated, there's probably something you need to do to step in and have a conversation with this student or orientee about how they can be a little quicker, what they can learn from that. But ultimately, step back, let them step up, or they're not going to succeed. So you're stunting their growth by doing that. And that does build confidence. When you have a preceptor that is in there helping you and telling you what you need next if you don't know, opening up that safe space for you so that you can ask questions, you immediately gain confidence, right? So do that. Help them gain their confidence so that they can feel like they can do it. Because there's so many that have messaged me. I've got messages saying, I'm leaving this place because they're mean. They won't allow me to do this. They won't allow me to do that. Everyone's kind of ganging up and telling me that I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. I get a lot of different messages, but I see basically the same thing where it just comes down to how preceptors are training and that they're not allowing that safe space. And it's almost like they're stunting, like they don't want them to succeed. And that comes down to gatekeeping, which is another thing that drives me crazy. Is gatekeeping that information, not fixing preference cards, which again, I fix a preference card at my work. Fix them, are they ever fixed? No, but I try. Not helping your coworkers and keeping that information when they go out of town, when you go out of town and you're the only one that works with that surgeon and you are not sharing that information with others, your surgeon knows that. They're not stupid. They know that you did not share that information with anybody. So gatekeeping, it doesn't really help you. And why would you prevent that patient from getting the best care when you have that information? I doubt you can see my phone, but I have notes for one of the doctors that I work with. I was just showing someone the other day, and I share them on my notes app. So I see their updates, they also update them. So anytime that surgeon, which he hasn't been to my hospital in a while, but if he came, I knew it would be updated and that I would have everything he needs. I reach out to people at different hospitals. Hey, have you worked with this surgeon before? What does he need? He's coming here. And I'm able to do that and get that information, but it's because I also do that. I share, I don't know if you see this, but there's a lot of notes. I don't know if it's still going. There's pictures and notes. Yeah, a lot. He does a lot of different cases and very particular. Why am I gonna screw someone else over and not share that information, knowing that I'm the one in his room all the time? So I know if I'm gone, someone else is not going to know. And the ones that gatekeep feel like that's keeping them in that room, when in reality, that surgeon knows what's happening. And also, again, that's just mean. You're setting someone up to fail, and that's never okay. Okay, another question for the live Q&A. Think back and what is one thing, or even now, whatever you're experiencing now, what's one thing you wish someone had taught you sooner? Respond to negative surgeons, suture passing, read the room, speaking up for yourself, that's a good one. Be confident, it's okay to make mistakes, don't take anything personal, run the room, to eat, oh, what did that say? Eat breakfast. That's true, if you're gonna have a really long day. Don't be too hard on yourself, adapt. It's okay to be the fastest, ask questions. You don't know what you don't know. I always say that. These are all great ones. You're doing great. Positive reinforcement. I mean, anybody would like that. So what's funny about this question, how to chill out. That's a good one too. What's funny about this question is that almost nobody answers with an instrument. Again, right? That's not something you wish someone, oh, I wish you would have taught me what a baby rich was. Why didn't you tell me? It's about people and them not helping you how to navigate through the OR and understand the environment and how to deal with other people. Has nothing to do with the surgery, with the instruments. It has to do with dealing with people. And it's almost always the human part of the job. Oh, but they're still going. Okay, I'm on the next. So these are just some comments that I've gotten online since I started social media 2 years ago, and I blew up. I was not expecting that to happen. So this is someone from Nigeria, Canada, and India. And getting these messages from across the world is extremely humbling to me, to know that I am helping that many people. And that's the only reason why I'm out of my comfort zone right now speaking in front of you guys, is because I see the impact that is happening. And that's what gives me purpose, is that I'm able to help others. And I have no problem calling out the ones that are not nice and that don't do the right thing, because that's just not okay to treat people that way. So if you don't understand the impact that you will have on those students and new hires that come into the OR, and how much that will resonate with them for the rest of their career, they will remember the one that was really, really nice. They'll remember the one that's not so nice also. But try to be the one that is encouraging and the one that is helping them better themselves and advance in their career and be the best that they can be, because you don't know your impact. And it spreads from there. Once you are that person to one, it continues happening and continues happening and continues happening. And everyone starts seeing it. And you're helping more people and more people. So you do not understand the impact that you can actually have if you just put yourself out there, you be positive, help others. It can go so much further than you think. It definitely has for me. Man. So this is the impact that good precepting has on you. I finally understand this. You hear someone say that, you know you're doing a good job. No one explained it like this, which is something that I have said personally. When someone's taught me something, I ask a lot of questions. I'm annoying, I ask a lot of questions because I want to understand every little detail of everything. So if someone can't explain it to me, I go find someone else who can explain it to me. If not, Google, ChatGPT now, it's great. But I'll use whatever resource I possibly can to find the answer. And if you know, which some preceptors you don't know yet, because maybe you haven't been taught that way. But if you don't know, there's nothing wrong with saying you don't know. You do not know what you don't know. So if you're teaching and you don't know, you are making your orientee feel so much better by admitting the things that you do not know. Say, you know what? I don't know that, but I'm gonna go find out. We're gonna learn this together. And they're like, oh, okay, so you don't know everything. I know I don't. We don't know everything. We're still learning every single day. So make sure that you teach that to the orientees, that you're not gonna know everything, it's gonna take you a really long time. Make them feel comfortable. I didn't quit because of this person that taught me. This person that made me feel comfortable. That's why I didn't quit. Those are all the positive things that you wanna hear. And retention is not always about money, although it helps a lot. It is not always about money. It's about the environment you're in. I've left places because of the environment that paid higher. Because if I'm going home and taking that with me, I'm now affecting my family. I'm not gonna do that. I know that I need to now make a change because I'm not willing to be around that negative environment and bring that home to my kids. So seek out positivity, but also be the positive one yourself. So this is a question I want you guys to think about. What kind of preceptor are you going to be after this? Because you do shape confidence by allowing that safe space and letting them fly, stepping back and letting them step up. You are helping them gain that confidence. You're shaping the culture in the OR. I went in one time on my day off. Don't know why, but I'm just kidding. I went in on my day off because one of the robot surgeons was more difficult. So I'm like, you don't have an extra FA, I'll go in. So I go in, and the nurse and the tech in the room were pretty habitually negative. But I'm the person that I'll speak up and say something. And usually I'll be sarcastic about it to try not to be mean. Unless they really don't stop, then I might be not as nice. But I'll always start out with respect and being nice to somebody. So I go in and there's just a lot of negativity happening. Well, he never knows what he wants. Okay, well, what do you need me to get? You want me to get something else to have in here? Well, no, because he's just gonna complain anyways. I was like, all right, but do you want me to go get something to make sure we have everything? I'll drape the robot, I got that. Okay, you want me to go get this? I'm getting everything. I'm solving every problem that they're coming up with, and it is still just negative. Finally, I was like, all right, guys, we have 4 cases today. It's gonna be a while. I am here on my day off, helping, and I really don't want to deal with the negativity. I want to have a good day on my day off. It's a Friday, my day off, I'm here with you guys. We're gonna have a good time, let's play some music, I'll get everything you need, don't need the negativity. 9 times out of 10, when you can call something out respectfully, it'll change. Because people don't want to admit they're negative. People aren't gonna say, oh, you're right, yeah, I'm always really negative. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, you just called me out. But there is a respectful way to do that, right? And that's a more difficult thing to do if you're a student with your preceptor, obviously. Oops. So here's another question. Before you leave, what's one thing that you can do differently while you're precepting? Just one. You can't do 10 things at once when you leave here. But what you can do is think of one thing and do that from here on out. Just one thing you're gonna change. You know what? I'm gonna communicate a little better. I'm gonna make sure to set expectations in the beginning because I don't really do that. I kind of do expect them to know. But now I'm gonna just speak up and set the expectations. One little thing. One behavior, just one improvement, one thing. Small changes will create huge ripple effects. So just remember that. I had a couple quotes on here. I went to AORN not too long ago, and there was this piano guy, Gregory Offner. He was the keynote speaker at AORN, and I loved it. He was like, I'm not singing for you guys, by the way, but he was like singing, playing the piano, answering questions. Like, it was great. I loved it. But one thing that he did say that I remember is that you don't have to do big things to do big things. You don't have to do big things. You just have to do something very small, and it can make such a huge impact. So just remember, people won't remember every instrument. They're not gonna remember every preference card, which hopefully they don't because they're not very good. They're not gonna remember every single case because I know I forget things all the time, which is why I have my 100,000 notes in my phone. But what they will remember is how you treated them, how you corrected them, how you made them feel in those intense environments. Did you point the blame at them when something went wrong, or did you help them through it? You're not just teaching skills, you are truly shaping their confidence in this career. Well, we've all survived enough. It is time that we start teaching others and shaping their confidence. Thank you guys for coming out. Does anyone have questions? I open it up for questions now, right? I think you're supposed to go to the microphone. You gotta awkwardly walk all the way over there in front of everyone.
Hi, sorry, I just want to preface that I work at a facility that is a teaching facility where we train our nurses to scrub. And so we will have nurses that are scrubbing, that are training new paradigm nurses.
To scrub. Correct.
So how do you recommend reaching preceptees that have gained bad habits and a lack of caring for certain particular things that you try to bring up and prep them on because of previous
Yeah, that's really difficult. Is that something that you've had discussions with management over as well?
Not personally,
yeah.
But it's definitely one of those things where it's just like you come across certain people where it's just like, have you noticed this person has like that attitude about certain things? And people are like, yeah, I noticed that too.
But nobody's really like directly, I don't know, I go straight to management and say, why are you doing this? That's my question, because obviously we go through a very thorough training to become a surgical tech. I mean, it's a long time of getting yelled at and making sure that you're throwing things across the room on your back table to make sure you're not contaminating anything. So I think you can only do so much by trying to correct respectfully. But as far as like training that way, definitely I feel like you need to go up higher than that and ask those questions and make sure that they're aware of what could potentially happen from that. Because they know that if they're not getting the right training, then that's when infections happen, right?
So you're suggesting like bringing it up to them as like a culture shift of like maybe
we shouldn't be having, yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
But that's hard for,
when like the whole facility is.
yes, or is already adopting that. So that's where you have to go back and, I mean, you're just gonna have to do your best to try to correct everything you can, but that's gonna get very exhausting because you're basically training someone from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's things where we have new nurses training new nurses. And
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's about to circulate as well. So, essentially we are kind of like training them to make ourselves obsolete. So switching teams is difficult because we're team-based.
Oh yeah.
But we've now had to introduce a double verification for Foley's to reduce like urinary infections. And it's watching some of the nurses do open gloving, and they're just really, it's kind of like, there's a reason why I have to do this double check on now, like someone's watching this place with Foley's.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but I feel like sometimes you can only say so much and then their infection rate's gonna go through the roof.
Right.
And that's gonna be their fault. But if you bring it to their attention and then that happens,
So like, obviously they've noticed that in audit, like the urinary infections have increased and they're implementing a new thing, but they're not seeing the reason where it's pretty different.
yeah, I would bring it up to management.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, but yes, of course.
What is a good way to address when you get a trainee that is doing I already know these things, and you're like,
Oh, the I know attitude, I didn't talk
and
about
you're trying
that.
to explain, like, you may have done thousands of whatever somewhere else, but our doctor's here, this is our way, blah, blah, blah.
So-
And then you still get that pushback, but trying to get pushback right this time, and
Yeah,
sometimes I don't know how best to approach it, and sometimes my manager is like, well, maybe it's your teaching style.
so with those ones, at least me personally, if they keep saying I know, okay, show me. I'll be like, you know. The first time I might give them all grace, right? But if it continues happening and like they clearly don't know, when you take one more step back and you say, okay, well, because you said, and that's what I'd say, because you're saying that you know this already, I'm gonna let you do this.
So I've done that.
And then what happens?
The surgeon complains to management, and then management comes to me and says, why did you let them, like, why weren't you instructed?
So after that procedure, if you see that what they're struggling with, that's when afterwards you can go up to that trainee and say, okay, well, you said you knew, but this, and this was happening, so you do need more help there. And the surgeon now complained.
I usually still get some more, oh yeah, yeah.
It's just like a never-ending cycle. That's how I would approach that. I mean, I'm not sure what else to do from there, but that's what I do when someone keeps saying, I know.
Go ahead and.
If you know, and yeah, the surgeon will get upset, and then if I have to step in, I'll have a conversation with that person afterwards and say, don't tell me you know if you don't know. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi.
Hello.
So I've been at facilities around the traveler, and I've been a couple of facilities where they hire LPNs.
Okay.
We have to train them, but obviously they, not even have LPNs, they
No.
go for like 9 months.
They don't have that experience, that background.
And then they
And then you just have to train them all.
yeah, like from the start.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm hearing this a lot more now that I'm like hearing about how other states do it.
I'm from New York, so they're a district, but it's really hard to train them because they don't have any food or anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's frustrating. I think just kind of the same thing where either you're going to have to speak up and say something, or unfortunately something's going to have to happen with the infection rate for them to see anything. Yes, of course. Oh, sorry, I didn't know there was one over here. Thought it was only that one. Oh.
I recently had to have surgery myself, and the person, my chose to be the scrub tech in the room was someone I had just finished training. People were like, well, why don't you take one of these other people? Because I know they're going to do it right. These other people, well, I train people, I wouldn't trust them. You're not training them right. So that's something that people don't realize. You may be the next person on their table.
Yes.
You never know, especially if you work at a trauma facility.
Yep.
So, and that was something that was impressed upon me by one of my first preceptors. The next person coming through the door would be a loved one or you. So, act like it.
Yeah, so if you're not training correctly, then that could be you, and that's the only person that's on call. So that's who you're getting. No, that's a great point. Thank you. Hold on, I gotta go over here. How long were you sitting there? Wow, go ahead. Okay. Are you sure? Okay, you go. I don't know how to do this. Okay.
I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to thank you and all of your other content creators. I'm a recent graduate, and all of your videos have just been amazing and helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, other content creator. What do you gotta say?
I can purposely stay motivated during difficult times. So like when you're having the bullying with the preceptors, how do we motivate them to keep going, to get better, keep trying again? How do we?
That's a good question. I think that just telling them there are resources out there and that every day is going to be different. You're not always going to have the same person, and understand that there are good teachers out there. And as far as coming as surgeons that are more difficult, try to understand where they're coming from and what they're doing. That in no way allows disrespect. And I'm never going to advocate for that, but I can understand frustration. And I think just not taking things so personally, which is very difficult to do, but understanding those ones that are teaching you and not being the nicest, they shouldn't be teaching. So get through your day and know that there's someone better out there to teach you. And hopefully we can all change that. Well, I'm gonna go back and forth now. Hello. Someone had to whisper.
I watched a lot of your videos, not necessarily for the teaching piece and the precepting. I've been scrub for over 10 years, and it's more for the social media piece. I do believe that that's going to be what's going to get our job out to the people on social media. I'm begging you, because you're already out there, to help educate the world and maybe guide some of us on how to do that. I really think that's going to be the way for us to get our voices heard, especially by hospitals. I watched one of your clips about like, oh my God, they asked so-and-so to come in and be the scrub tech off the street.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you guys don't understand, meaning like you guys meaning the people.
Yeah,
World.
that was that one over there.
Understanding, and I was like, yeah, we need to talk about this, but how do we educate the people? I don't know that like going down to the state building and.
I think that just starting with social media, that one was Amy's post, I believe, that the front desk secretary, right, went and scrubbed in. And so I didn't even know that was, but like I'm West Coast, so like that's not how we do things. At least not in Nevada and Utah and surrounding states. So I had no idea that was even something that they were doing. So even her just talking about that and putting it out there, we got so much feedback.
I commented, someone commented back from that post, and I was like, yes, and then I shared it, and people were like, oh my God, it's real. And so I was making people talk.
Yes.
There was a surgeon today who was like, wait a minute, people can do that? And so they're working elbow to elbow with these people, and they don't understand that we don't have to be certified in so many states. My question is like, how do the surgeons not know that?
I didn't know it.
You know what I mean?
I didn't even know.
So I think
I think the social media side of it, like you're opening it up to patients now seeing this, right? Which, I mean, we're not violating HIPAA, we're just explaining what our job is, how important it is to have your certification and to make sure that you are trained properly and to be able to create that sterile environment for a patient coming in for surgery and how important that is. And
I
yes,
just wanted to say thank you
of
for
course.
opening the door and maybe coming up with something to help us open the doors further.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Oh, hi.
And to piggyback on that, we all have a voice, no matter how big our reach may or may not be, and it starts with one person. I use every single case that I'm in to educate anybody about anything within the profession, certification, laws, anything I could possibly do. And so that one little voice matters. So please don't ever feel like you don't matter because you do.
Yes, I agree.
Outside of that, I just wanted to ask, how do you approach your coworkers that may be those negative preceptors? How do you have that conversation with them to get them to kind of change their attitude and how they see precepting? Because a lot of them are like long-term replacement. So how do you combat that?
I deal with that all the time, with just the negativity from it or saying, I don't want to teach. And I basically make the same joke, like, who's going to take your call? But also, how were you trained? How did you learn? Right? Someone had to step up and do it. So if they're with you, teach them. Understand that that's the pathway that they're taking and help them through it. And if you're being negative about it, you're now pushing someone away from a career that they could have been really good at because they obviously cared. And that's why they left, is because they cared. So I call it out. When I see it, I call it out. And I'll say something right away and just be like, well, you know, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're new. And a lot of times when you call someone out with the negativity, they'll shut up.
If they don't, do you then take that to make
Yes, absolutely, which I've also done. Because I'm not willing to see someone else fail because someone's being negative and not willing to teach them. So yes, that would be the next step for me. Go to their instructor and be like, hey, don't put them with them. Like they're going to end up quitting because of this person. And then go to management and say they should not be training. Unfortunately, you're not listened to a lot with management. But again, there's only so much that you can do. But advocate for them, and maybe you be that resource for that person that's training and say, listen, I know that they were being a little hard on you. Please reach out to me. I am more than willing to help you in those situations, and continue calling them out and just doing what you can, because you're not going to be able to do it all.
So I have two parts, and I've already been out for my management discussion. But I just kind of want to piggyback also off kind of what multiple people have come up here and said. As someone who's involved statewide with the AST, you know, they have this 3-year plan of what we're going to do for our media growth and how are we going to roll it out and what's it going to look like. And I think that the social influencers that are here today are already making a bigger name for our profession and advocating for us and how important that is. And so just keep doing what you're doing, keep being awesome, because like,
We appreciate it.
exactly. And it's finally, you know, CST is not just a quietly known profession. We're getting out there, we're growing. Patients are learning because they've seen something on TikTok, or they've seen something in a reel, or they've seen something. And so larger numbers are coming in, that's fantastic. And then the second part is, I read an article as a parent that said the way that you speak to your children becomes their inner voice. And I think that that's something important as a preceptor, to also remember that the way that you're speaking to your preceptees, they're going to start speaking to themselves like that. And that's going to become their internal voice. Like, you idiot, I know that, you should have already had that.
And then that's how they'll train.
And that's how they'll train. And even if they leave you and go with someone else, that internal voice has already been created. So I think that it's really important to remember that.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Hello.
I want to piggyback off of what has been said, that I'm grateful for, as a new ST that came out confident and going to a new environment and having preceptors, not even surgeons. The surgeons are rocking with us, but the preceptors are disgusting. Like literally just not good. And I was able to watch a lot of you guys' videos to be able to get some of the information that I might have needed, where they will literally try to like help you fail.
They're like throwing you to the wolves.
My preceptors don't even stay in the room.
It's crazy.
And so, I mean, coming out of school doing triple A's and all these things by myself, and I'm grateful to be able to watch the videos or to speak to others. And I love that you advocate for those that maybe not have a voice, or, you know, it's not always, it's sometimes the facility itself has a culture where the upper management know what's going on.
And they won't do anything about it.
It's ingrained into the culture. So I'm grateful to hear like, oh, it's not just happening to me, and then you realize, oh, after you come out of it, it's because they were intimidated. And I don't know why they think that you're gonna steal their job, because you already have a job and they have a job. But again, as a new ST, I'm just grateful for you guys. And I wanna say thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we can shape that, and if we're positive, then we can change everything. But it does start with everyone in this room.
I had a doctor say thank you to me for helping them find out and learn something in ortho surgery that they didn't know, because the surgeon was being nasty and the STs were being nasty to them. And so it just takes one moment. Being kind doesn't cost you anything.
And like Amy said, we all have a voice.
Yes.
Yes,
and you
absolutely.
can make an impact and you can make such a difference just being nice.
Yep, absolutely.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm a fresh baby scrub, just certified like a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Obviously, being a student, that's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But now going into the workforce as a CST, like, what is something you would tell yourself to kind of prepare yourself, or maybe motivate yourself to just prepare to be a CST, you know?
So I Googled everything. Yeah, because like I want to understand the whys. And so I would find my resources. So if I know somebody who's always doing the cases in the room that you're in, I would go and find that person, that resource. And sometimes you only have a few that you can go to in that facility, but I'd be like, hey, can you give me some pointers? Can you come look at my setup? Can you come make sure I have everything I need? That made me feel more comfortable going into something I've never done before. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it, but I've never done it before. So let me go and find those resources. And the way that you find those resources is you opening up and communicating that, and you being a resource yourself. And then you will all help each other. And that will help you gain your confidence, because you're like, she does this all the time. I've never done this, but she looked over my setup. I trust that. I trust what she's telling me, and you'll figure out those relationships and who you can trust, and then that helps you gain that confidence. And Google what you're doing. So you're like, okay, well, maybe I need a liver retractor for that, right? I'm doing a hiatal hernia, liver's right there. I probably need to retract that because of where it's at and because the liver's there. Once you start thinking that way, then it will just make you that much better and more confident going in.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Open that up from other facilities for you to be able to answer those questions. I think that would be great for everyone to do as well. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks. Another one.
My question is more so, well, I guess that's a big area of next question. So, I was in a trauma case one time, and like I work at a training facility, just to preface that. So
you're doing everything. Yeah.
You would think that the room is the smallest room on the planet because there's so many people in there. And a lot of stuff goes on, and like obviously as me, like the subject matter expert in the room, like eyes are everywhere. And a lot of a lot of the people we have in my facility are so young. And a lot of people think that conversations are confrontations. And so they don't have that confidence that they need to be projecting off their patient to really speak up. So like my question is, how do you instill that into people, especially like young people?
The confidence to speak up.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to talk back to the surgeon or the resident or blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think it also definitely takes time also to get to that point where you've built that relationship and that respect. Because if you come into my house and you're immediately yelling at my kid, I'm not gonna like that. Because you don't know me, you don't know my kids, you don't know, right? So once you start understanding things and you can prove yourself and what you're doing, that makes it a lot easier for you to be respected and more confident going in. That's what I think. So teaching that, I mean, just teach them that, yes, like if you see something contaminated or speak up, say something. Absolutely. I think it is hard to gain that confidence just from the beginning, but again, just opening that up, that safe space, and allowing them to correct those things in a respectful way. And that's another thing that's huge. You're not screaming and yelling at somebody. You're making sure that you're not making them feel stupid, and you're understanding the room, reading the room, and what's going on, and that is not gonna happen right away. So explaining those things, I think, to the new hires or newer ones coming in that maybe don't have that confidence, and say, hey, you need to speak up, like you need to say this. But that also comes down to who was training them. Because if they didn't get that initially, maybe they need someone in there to help them boost their confidence and get to that level. Of course. Yes, make it about the patient, absolutely. Thank you guys so much.